You said something interesting, and I actually wrote down as an action item from day one because I was in your room for the hot seat, which I always enjoy being in your room because you run a tight ship. I put down, not for 2021, but sometime in the near future, starting a property management company.
Yep.
And it's something I've resisted for a very long time, but you made some pretty compelling arguments.
Right.
So can you share those arguments?
Sure. So here's the first thing. So you know this answer because we just talked about it this week, but most people think that the point where you want to add in property management is around 100 doors. And I argue that the break-even point is somewhere between 20 and 30 doors, depending on the rents. If your average rent's between like $1,000 and $1,500, it's, in my opinion, it's about 27 houses. I've done the math. If you're in a market where it's more expensive, it's probably lower than that. And if you're doing Airbnbs and other stuff, the numbers are lower.
Yeah.
And this is why. You can hire who you like, who you think will do a great job. You can incentivize them, and they are, if you are smart about it, you can incentivize them based upon their performance with your portfolio. It's their focus. They're not working on other people's stuff. They're just working on your holdings. So that you have a captive audience, which is a really big deal.
Versus a property manager that's got like 30, 50 clients.
Right. Or someone who, like, you're just one of, like, there's a person in my market, nice enough guy. I don't know how many he owns or how many he manages. It's into the thousands, but they're none of them are his. And it would take 6 to 8 weeks to turn a house. Like, we could do a house in 6 to 8 hours. So it, like, what you really start to realize is the number is way lower than people tell you on when it gets affordable because it's your money and you can prioritize it. That's a big thing. So with internal property management, I also have another tentacle to market where I can weigh what's happening in the market. When COVID happened last year, my property manager and I got together and she goes, nobody's renting. Like, nobody's doing anything. She's like, rents have been going up. It's stopped. I'm like, okay, lower everything by a couple $100. Do what you think you need to do. If it gets aggressive, really aggressive, call me and let's talk about it. But I know because she's out there, she's on the phone, she's telling me what people can afford.
You know what the rental market's doing way before everybody else.
Yes, and she works for me. So we're talking about it. And she wants to do her job because she's incentivized to do so, but it gives me another data point that I know is truthful. Mm-hmm. The other thing is you can start to kind of sense not only what's happening with the market, but what kind of specs do you need? Where do you want to be? What do you want to look at? People are talking to this person, and that person then shares it with you. Residents will give feedback about what they do and don't like. These are all things that make you stronger. The goal of the rental portfolio is to get a yield. That's what you're doing. You're protecting yourself with tax and inflation risk, but you're also giving yourself a yield. And if you do it right, you can retire off of it. So properly managing it gives you a huge advantage. Having someone who physically does it on staff, I think is a game changer. So let's just talk about you. All right, we start in the middle. You're managing your stuff, 30 to 100, whatever. In my case, over 300, 100,000 feet of retail, some commercial buildings, blah, blah. We've sold a handful of properties turnkey, and we sold a ton of properties wholesale. Most people who own wholesale houses or rental houses have other jobs. They're not professionals like us. They work as an accountant, and they don't have access to what we have access to and what we take for granted. So in a lot of instances, we treat them really well. They like us. And they're like, would you manage this for us? I'm like, yeah, sure, we'll do it. That's how it started. One at a time, two at a time. Now we're up to well over 125 individual owners. The number of properties is more. And we're going to grow that segment of business. Now we've actually got enough staff and we got people who manage it from top to bottom, where I go to a meeting for 90 minutes a week, I talk about property management, and I don't think about it again until that meeting comes up a week later. So we're doing all of these things. The goal is not to need money. Like, it gives you an ability to live a different type of a life. For me, rentals is an annuity. If you're doing rentals and collecting rents, that's part of the annuity. Mm-hmm. But if you're managing rentals for other people, that's another part of your annuity. And an annuity is something that just pays you over time. So you might make, on average, we make roughly $250 per door per month. On rents, our property management, I think we make we make a third of that, somewhere between a third and 2.5 divided. I don't know how to do that math. We make between 100 and like $125 per month on every property that we manage.
And how many are you managing right now?
A couple hundred.
So,
but it's getting to a couple, like I think we'll get it over 500 in the next 12 months. And I think in the next 24 months, we'll be over 1,000. But the point is you start to look at this like, okay, I can go out and buy 1,000 rentals. I can have a huge staff with a huge overhead, and I basically can run a cash neutral business just off of that.
right.
Or you can have 600 that you own and you manage another 800 and you get there that way too, or some combination of both of those things. So what you start to realize is I need the service anyways. I'm really good at it. We can control it. I'm smarter because I have it in-house. Oh, and it also pays me. Yeah. So these are the little things that if you put together, and then if you get to the point where you want to, you can sell a property management business at a very nice multiple.
Right.
It becomes a whole exit strategy.